So, welcome everyone back to another edition of our 20th anniversary series for CAPIC's birthday year. CAPIC is 20 years old this year in 2025, and we are very honored to bring this series to you so you can hear a little bit about the organization, where it started, where it's going, and hear from some of the foundational persons who have been involved with CAPIC since the beginning. I'm honored and welcome to have with me here Gerd Damitz, who's going to share a little bit of his story and his journey and involvement with CAPIC over the years. So welcome, Gerd.
Yes, thank you, Monica, and thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you. So my name is Monica O'Brien. I am involved as an employee at CAPIC after having been a member for a very long, for 20 years. Still am a member and a volunteer before working inside, and I am your host for today's session. So Gerd, first of all, I want to start off with and hearing a little bit about you. What inspired you to sort of enter the immigration consulting profession? And tell us a little bit about yourself. Maybe there's a fun fact that you want to share as we get to know you.
Okay, thank you. About the fun factor, I hope it's coming during our conversation. I have about now 30 years of experience as an RCIC. I have been during the time also a business strategist and lobbyist. And that's the professional side. On more the side of CAPIC, I have been one of the two founding presidents of CAPIC and was a founding senior director of ICCRC, Immigration Consultant of Canada Regulatory Council, the regulator who was a successor of CSIC and is now transformed into the College of Canadian Immigration and Citizenship Consultant, CCIC. I do believe also during all this time, I have been one of the major forces on bringing consumer protection to an unprecedented high level, with really regulating our profession and at the end, obtaining federal legislation. Well, how did I get into this? It's kind of strange. I immigrated in 1995 from Germany. Now, I have been a business manager in the oldest European company, exchange-registered company, and was responsible for corporate planning, controlling, finances, human resources, and IT. And when I came here, I came to Canada because of nature, because of the beauty. But to find a similar position, it's kind of difficult as a new immigrant, except you have a company transfer, which I did not. So I had some talk, for example, with Bayer, but at the end, I decided to be independent and kind of open my own business. So first, what I did, I registered for real estate, and I basically wrote the exam for all the modules. And then at the very last module, I've been told that you cannot be a real estate agent. You have 1 year waiting time, mandatory waiting time for any new PR, for any new permanent resident. So I decided then to go for immigration and was kind of lucky to find some position in an established immigration company. At that time, it was Shock Associates, and kind of was led into that profession. And well, and I'm here since then. That's the story about immigration.
Wow. Wow. So for those in our listening audience, Gerd says he's been involved in the profession for 30 years and he's only 32. So he obviously was very young when he started. So Gerd, all these years of knowing you, I didn't really know quite your entry into the profession. So you had immigrated and you had dreams of starting a business or being involved and you were checking out the landscape. And at this point, you thought, well, I'll try the immigration field, having just immigrated myself. So it was kind of one of those things that it wasn't really planned, and just this opportunity came into your lap.
Yes, that's correct. it's getting even more. Now, maybe that's a funny story. I saw an advertising in the paper like 1 month after I immigrated, and they were looking for somebody who is counseling on immigration. Now, when I immigrated, I prepared myself thoroughly, and there have been some book on the market which I studied and so. And so I felt, okay, I would be able to do this. And I talked to them. And I do think I did a honest and good job. However, it became clear that this is not the way to go, that there was no regulation whatsoever. And basically, knowing the structures from Germany, etc., I wanted to become involved in bringing more structure to the profession. So this is basically how I slipped into this.
Yeah, so your own experience yourself. Well, you realize first of all, it was a huge learning curve for you because although you had done your own immigration experience, there's still a lot more to that process, right? From learning how to manage your clients and learning the act and the regulations. But I also want to let our audience know that Gert just didn't come into the profession totally blind. He was educated in Germany, had a business background, had work experience. So you brought all that wealth of experience to your new job and, learned as you went. But I guess that's a great segue into our next question. Um, you've shared a little bit about yourself, but you said in your introduction that you were one of the founding presidents of CAPIC. And I know that you started working with James Chalk, and James himself was part of another organization prior to CAPIC. And I guess that was your sort of your segue. Can you share a little bit about that story of how you came from Gerd, who just started working at this job, and then you sort of ended up becoming the founding president? I don't know how short you can make it because it's not a short story, but I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, okay. I try to make it short. So basically, after I decided for immigration and joined Chalk Associates, as you mentioned, James was involved with ACE. That was one of the two professional organizations in place at that time. One was OPIC, one was ACE. So I joined ACE and immediately became very active in trying to make the structures more professional. And in 2002, I was approached to become the president and was then elected. I didn't want to do it first, but because at that time, from the whole situation, I understood I would be entirely on my own. But after thinking about this, I decided, okay, let's do it. And I had then also some very good support with Berto Volpentester, who was going with me through thick and thin, if you can say so, because we had a lot of problems to deal with becoming regulated. Members were scared because suddenly they had to do a knowledge test, they had to do a language test, and at the same time, we tried the amalgamation. So it was a very, very turbulent time. So one of my first actions in ACE was to introduce a strategic plan to make ACE the most important professional organization and bypass OPIC, but in a friendly way. And now, at that time in 2003, CAPIC was introduced, which became the first regulatory body of our profession. And I don't want to talk now about all the difficulties with CAPIC, that's another chapter. But ACE hosted then in the same year in the National Club a CAPIC meeting. CAPIC, that was a meeting twice a year where all immigration executives participated, and also the from the Bar Association, the executives, and then from the professional organization for consultants, OPIC and ACE. So OPIC and ACE, under the former ACE presidents, were not really the best friends. And I used this opportunity then trying to harmonize the relationship between both organizations. And it happened at the buffet. I remember the buffet, it was very nice. And Warren Lloyd, who was the president of OPIC, and myself, we were standing beside each other, and we started to talk about what is going on now with the new regulator, and that there's really a need to have a strong voice for immigration consultants, for the interests of immigration consultants in view of this regulator. So we talked in one sentence, maybe we follow up and trying to join forces. And from this buffet talk, the next few months, almost a year, then basically Warren and I decided, okay, we try to join them. We worked relentlessly on the structures, e.g. bylaws of a new organization, which became called CAPIC. And this all was then approved by both membership, ACE and OPIC. And by using the existing joint organization structure to make CAPIC, to introduce CAPIC, Warren and myself were the founding presidents, the very first presidents of CAPIC. And it was an ideal combination. Like ACE brought the money and the dynamics, and OPIC brought a better reputation, because many of OPIC members were former visa officers. So both together, it was from the beginning a powerful new organization. And in December 2004, we had our inauguration meeting at the Royal York Hotel, and we both proposed Ron Mackay as the first to be elected president, and he was then overwhelmingly confirmed by the new membership, and I became the past president of the new board.
Wow, that was very succinct. For me, I have to tell you, like I get this feeling in my heart, because I remember I was there in 2004, because I was a member of OPIC, and I remember the times. I remember that collectively there was a fairly good number of representatives, and we all wanted a profession that was credible and competent and capable and well respected. And we were becoming regulated, so we wanted to have a voice that would represent us and look after us and work in partnership and do all these things. Yeah, so it was a very, very exciting time. So you said, as you were standing next to Warren Lloyd at the National Club, and do you happen to remember what was on the buffet?
Yeah, of course, because I ordered it. We had a lot of shrimp, salmon, salads, the whole 9 yards. And if you ask me what Warren put on his plate, I think it was 2 shrimps.
Oh, really? Wow, that's very.
Maybe I just make it up, but yeah, it was a very nice buffet.
Okay.
And to be honest, the environment of a national club helped. It's very impressive. And I realized, because I participated in seated meetings before, I realized that the executives of Immigration Canada were impressed. I also noticed that the Bar Association executives were impressed, and I believe so was Warren. So at that time, OPIC looked a little bit down to ACE, right? Because again, the membership was kind of more experienced, etc. So, but this all helped to come together, to get on the same level.
Yeah, good marriage. I guess to say so. So for those who are listening, this is a very organic conversation because Gerd and I talked a little bit beforehand. So Gerd, I'm going to ask you this. We're going to go on to our next question because you've segued nicely. Do you feel that you need to take a bit of a break and we could stop the recording, or you're quite comfortable to go on?
Yeah, have a short break.
Okay, so we'll do that. Okay, so we'll come back to you in a minute.
Yep. Yep.
So we are back. We both grabbed glasses of water, and I have to say, Gerd, how intriguing this is for me. Maybe I'm a bit of a history buff, but for me, the organization is so important, and I think we have to know our history as we move forward. And that leads me into the next question. CAPIC's been around for 20 years, and we're more than just education providers, right? We're more than just doing that next webinar, although that's an important piece. But I want to know from you, what kind of role do you think CAPIC has played over the last 20 years? And perhaps where do you think they'll go in the next 20?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. But when I look at the last 20 years, CAPIC tremendously transformed from 250 in membership to, I believe, now 5,000, and offering a vast range of services and tools for membership. During that time, CAPIC has been the voice for immigration consultants with the federal and provincial government, and really lobbied very successfully on many immigration process and legal topics, but probably more important even on consumer protection with implementing a regulator, and for RCICs on becoming a recognized profession. I mean, if you recall when I talked about the time of the 90s, no regulation, and I mean, anybody could do anything, right? So it was a very long way to become a recognized profession. So talking then about the regulation, CAPIC was responsible for the creation of a regulator successor of CAPIC, and the name was ICCRC, the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council, and also solely based on the success of CAPIC's lobbying was the long hoped for Federal Statute, legislating and was really cementing the profession of immigration consultants, leading then also to the transition of ICCRC into the college we have now, College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants. And what many did not realize or might not know, in both instances, the creation of IRCC and transition into the college was utmost important. Our profession was on the brink of becoming annihilated, and by really no good reason, but very hostile lobbying against immigration consultants from the outside, and also from some consultants with special interests. And we do know from, we always have been very close to the process of questioning the current regulator, questioning the profession. So we know what kind of thought processes have been on the side of the immigration minister. So it was really sometimes a close call. So why did that happen? I believe CAPIC's efforts and lobbying showed maturity and professionalism of our profession, which was seen with kind of joy, maybe not expected, and put consultants on as a result, put consultants even on a higher professional and secure level. So in a nutshell, CAPIC actively achieved the implementation of a new Canadian profession. That's the RCIC, including structuring the industry and having a regulator, but also a professional organization similar to the Bar Association, which is CAPIC.
So, I mean, you started off these comments, that we in the 20 years we've provided a range of services and educational programming and a lot of support for members, but woven in there is the role that CAPIC has, as you say, to establish the profession, to bring the credibility, and with the end goal of, providing a viable service for consumers and protecting the public. So that's the last 20 years. So the profession is now established. We're still, working to make sure all that framework is in place. But what's ahead for the next 20 years? What role do you think CAPIC should have for the next 20 years?
Well, CAPIC is speaking as the sole voice for RCICs. No one else is accepted, and that is for good reason. So CAPIC has to continue to lobby. However, probably the focus is now more on legislative topics and on immigration processes and decision on it by the immigration minister. With respect to our profession, what we should focus on to keep up our credibility, speak as one voice. That's the problem in our industry, in our profession, where so many different voices popping up with having a problem to see that to be united is the way to be successful. And so I do hope that we overcome this. And probably it has something to do with the nature of us. I mean, each one of us it's a very unique individual for the kind of problems we are facing in our profession. So that might make it sometimes more difficult to see the big picture outside of it. Then with the college, we have to, because of this, showing this professionalism, this credibility, we have to make sure that we are keeping up this part we have left of self-regulation. We still have some directors on board who are RCICs and are elected. However, that can change. The minister has the power to change that. So we want to keep this up. We want to have our voice on the regulators' boards as well. Then with CAPIC, of course, I mean, CAPIC has to adjust to the challenges the profession has to continuously reviewing the services and tools offered to the members. Also, what is missing, what can be offered maybe in a new way, and also how to bring everybody together under one umbrella. And again, that's still a big challenge, just because of the nature of our industry. But I think if somebody is dedicated on this topic within CAPIC, it can happen. And at the end, it's not about CAPIC. I mean, CAPIC is working on making the profession more stable and more professional. So this is helpful for all of us, because we still have sometimes some hostile influence or lobbying from the other side, and we have to stand up to that with reasoning and good arguments. And in the past, sometimes I talked about some hostile groups also within the profession, and that should not happen again, because I already said we have been twice on the brink, and I do believe we will survive now as a profession, but we might lose the rest of our self-regulation.
Yeah, you've made some great points there. I mean, you took us through from inception to where we are today, and laid out sort of a framework for the work that needs to be done ahead. And you know, I think a lot of people in our profession, especially when they're starting off, they come in with, what's in it for me, right? And
Yeah.
it's the immediate support and gratification and validation that they need, and that's important, right? You want to support that, but we also want to make sure that people who come into the profession have a career path. They have the ability to operate with that in that profession, and that they can elect representatives to the regulatory board who can bring forth their concerns and interests. And as you say, there are people there who can stand up to issues that may impact us as a whole. So I agree with you. There remains an indelible role for CAPIC, and they have to continue to evolve and grow and adjust as society does. So there's a lot of work to do and a lot of work to be done, and I think that's a great challenge for CAPIC and their members and their leadership to take forward. So you talked a little bit about federal statute in there, and for those who might not understand what that means putting our profession to be enshrined in law under Section 91. We have the authority to represent, whereas before we were just under the stroke of a pen, and now we're enshrined in law. It would be a lot of work legislatively to get rid of consultants, and that's not going to happen. So I want to know, Gerd, was that your proudest moment when we actually got that federal statute
Yep.
as a
Yep.
CAPIC member?
Yes, it was. Um, it I mean, with no doubt, this achievement of federal statute was a very, very happy moment. And we had many ups and downs in our profession, but this one was the absolute highlight. It is something we were maybe, well, we talked about. I do remember dreaming of 25 years earlier, right? I'm talking about the 90s. But we, well, we were not sure if that would happen. And as it shows, all the two regulators which were implemented basically were under the Non-Profit Corporation Act. So, as you said, on the stroke of a pen, our profession could disappear. So that doesn't happen now anymore. And something maybe interesting to know, we had a legal opinion from Professor Peter Hawkes, who's unfortunately not with us anymore. But has been, and I think even now he's Canada's foremost expert on constitutional law, and we asked him for his legal opinion on federal statutes. He was very supporting in the fact of trying to get this. However, he was skeptical if he can achieve that, because there are so many different players, including provinces, including stakeholders, and opposition. So I don't know if that is a funny part, but we did share this opinion, parts of it, at least with other stakeholders, but we never released that part where he was skeptical about the federal statutes, and that for obvious reasons, right? We wanted to have optimism. We wanted to have that everybody believes we can achieve it. And so we wanted to achieve it, and at the end we did. And as I said, this was the proudest and most happy moment. And for myself, I took that when at the time of a high kind of withdraw a bit from, let's say, of my participation at the organization. So I'm doing still some stuff, but this was the very, very big, the how do I call it, the big hairy goal or something. The big audacious hairy goal.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're calling it hairy, but it was a big goal that you reached. And no, I think people listening will hear your the pride that you've taken. And I know it was a lot of work. I know it was years of work. It was years of dedicated work just for that one particular goal, but it was a culmination of 25 years of work of not only yourself, but um
Some key players, if I just mention some names, like Dory Jade, who is still with CAPIC as a CEO. He was also very, very active and leading force when Donald Ikbofke, who was the president at that time. So this were some very dedicated people and who had CAPIC and the profession in their heart. And the most important, always believing we can do it.
Yes, yes, and of course, you would have gone through different boards at that time, and
For
just
sure.
making it work and the support of the members. Because I remember when the idea was first floated, and nobody really understood what it was, and it took sort of years of sort of trying to educate and understand, and I think now it's just sort of accepted. And we said earlier, incredibly important to know the history. Um, so we understand where we came from as
Can
we.
something because you're absolutely right. I mean, uh, a lot of kudos to the boards and the board members of that time because decisions were made at CAPIC, including investments into leading to the federal status. I think if you add everything together of almost 500,000, almost $500,000, that's unbelievable lot. So you need a lot of trust and support for that. And every board member, at least, well, I don't know how everybody voted, but the boards voted for it, and so they supported that. And it took a long time, as you said, and they never questioned the efforts, but they also were very positive in thinking, okay, we can do it.
Gerd, in that journey to get to Federal Statute, was there one particular moment that stands out in your mind when you said to yourself, I think this is achievable? Or was it just a culmination of a series of events and moments?
Um, well, the it was an uphill battle. Um, Starting within our own profession, I'm not exaggerating when I see there was maybe a handful of people who were thinking federal statute is necessary and achievable. So we had to do a lot of to do a lot of convincing and again reasoning and good arguments, and it was successful. I mean, it was at the end supported by the vast majority to get federal statute, and then of course because of some hostile lobbying against consultants, we had to kind of stand up to that. So we had to do a lot of convincing on the side of the decision makers. So we were traveling for years, talking to member of parliament, talking to minister, talking to senior executives of Immigration Canada. So it was a steady process, and as I said, uphill, but it was going uphill. And I think the key moment, because we noticed some change with immigration, the key moment was when we submitted another additional legal opinion from Professor Hawks, which was much more detailed, saying how a federal statute could be achieved and the benefits of it, including the government. And I don't think they were kind of surprised that we had Canada's leading expert on constitutional law and had a legal opinion of it. And from that moment, I do think that triggered a change in thinking. And also the government was saying, yeah, it's possible and it's doable and it's beneficial for all.
I mean, it's just for me, it just brings back so much that excitement at the time. But I guess it goes to show that something like this is years of work, and you're very right to be proud of that moment because it was a foundational moment. So I guess, Gerd, this brings me to my last question. And maybe you have already said the answer to this. So I know you wish CAPIC a very happy birthday, but what is your birthday wish for CAPIC?
Yes. Well, the initial goal since inauguration was that CAPIC will be the professional body within the profession, having a role similar as a bar association in comparison for lawyers. And I believe we achieved that. So my hope is that we keep this up and even build on it and manifest with position even more. Definitely we have to look at that again and confirm and celebrate that at the 50th birthday of CAPIC. But I also hope that the future leadership will be as dynamic, motivated, and focus on CAPIC as the past one. This includes keeping all the achievements, including governance, and that directors are not just going to the CAPIC board because of position, but because of their heart for CAPIC and its members, and basically the desire to make CAPIC and subsequently our profession even better. So in a nutshell, I believe we still have mature more, and coming down to the individualismus in our profession, that everyone understands that this is very important for the profession, for the recognition in the public, which at the end will beneficial every individual as well. So that is my these are my thoughts and birthday wishes.
Well, I love those birthday wishes. They're very important. Just so you know, I did interview the second president, which was Ron McKay. Um, and his birthday wish was that he would be around in another 20 years to be around for the next birthday. So
Yeah, okay, we will be rolling in, right?
that's
Yeah.
yeah. So I just want to say that, Gerd, I want to thank you for your interview today and thank you for your generational work that you've done on behalf of CAPIC. You've been foundational in what you've done and helping shape not only CAPIC but the profession itself. I know we first met, I believe, way back in the early 90s. We met at one of those earlier Seneca courses
Mhm.
where our friend Ali Amlani had been working with Seneca to put some courses together. And I remember I think you stood up to answer some question, and there a friendship was born. So thank you on behalf of the profession for all that you've done.
Thank you. And since you mentioned Ali Amlani, also a very, very uh, important maker and player in getting the profession where we are now. He was the one who set up the first educational programs for immigration consultants. And he was kind of my mentor, as James Chalk was. So I'm very thankful for them. And it's good that you mentioned him, but there are so many others we didn't mention, but really Ali is one of the outstanding contributors.
Yeah, he is. And we're hoping over the 2025 you'll get to hear some of those voices. You'll hear some voices who have been foundational, and you'll hear from regular members too, longtime members who will talk about how CAPIC has shaped their career and supported them and the vision that they have and the birthday wish that they have. So I think this is a great time to end this, Gerd. Any final words that you have for our audience?
No, no, again, thank you for having me. Uh, Thank you to everyone who's listening or reading the script, and be part of the CAPIC movement for the better of our profession.
Thank you, Gerd. And thank you to all of you for listening today. We have gone a little longer than we normally might, but these words are so important. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of CAPIC. And if you happen to be listening to this and not be a part of CAPIC, consider joining and being part of the next 20 years. Thank you, everyone. Take care.